Hey everybody, how's it going? Candice Jarrett here. I am going live today. I'm so excited. I'm going to be interviewing JC Fuller, author of Black Bear Alibi. So I just spun up the live to get the room ready so that way I can invite her. So in the meantime, just getting everything set up. So actually, I don't know the settings. Oh, she's here. Awesome. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can invite guest. Okay, I sent the invitation. And then let me see. Thumbs up. Hey! Can you hear me okay? Oh, I gotta turn up the volume so I can hear you. Okay. Okay. Can you say something?
Hello.
Hey, now I can hear you. How's it going?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing awesome. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk to you.
Me too. Let me share all this excitement. 1 second. Let our peeps know they can come and harass us.
Nice. I love it. Okay.
Just a couple more. Just a second. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Take your time. Okay, let me see how I can send to people.
There. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Me too. Me too. So I promised people in the little promo that I did that I'm not going to do any spoilers. But I realized then after I said that, I'm like, but you know what? I want some spoilers. So I think what we're going to do is we'll do like the first half where we do completely spoiler free. Then maybe like the last 10 minutes, like, okay, now there's some spoilers. So get out if you haven't read the book. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, it's so crazy when you're friends with someone on TikTok, because I feel like I've already talked to you like 1,000 times before. Right? Because
It's like there was this TikTok going around that's like, hey, there's my friend. And then you're like, they have no idea who you are. You know what I mean? It's like
So
you see
true.
them every day, you interact with their stuff.
Right.
To you, they're your friend,
It's,
So-
I love how you said it like that because it's true. You interact with them every day. I mean, because you like comment, you like the video, like it becomes part of your life. I love the phone ones you do for customer support. That is just like absolutely brilliant. It has me like, rolling. They're so funny. So and I love that. So I was a fan of your videos before I got a chance to read the book, and I knew that you were just going to be so creative because I can see like the way that you do your videos is you're just oozing creativity and fun and like all these little details. And that is, I mean, I felt it. I felt it when I read it.
As long as my creative well is full, I am brimming with ideas. But I'm a creative well person, so if like stress gets involved or life gets too busy or I get focused on something else, like a different project or something, and then I use up all my creativity, and then we have a really long dry spell.
Oh no. Yeah.
Until we can figure something out.
Actually, I'm glad that you brought this up because I had to raise my phone volume again. So I want to talk to you about Black Bear Alibi itself, but I also want to talk to you about your creative process. So I'll let you lead it. What do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the book first, or do you want to start with like the writing stuff?
Let's do the book first. But speaking of books, can we just really quickly talk about yours for a second? Because I thoroughly enjoyed Mortal Tether. I loved it. I like zombie books, and I'm a big fan of Otto Schaefer and a big fan of Jill and Davies, and I also read Monstra.
Oh, Monster Inter. Yeah. I love that one
Yes.
too.
And I like because she gave like 2 endings that you can kind of pick which one you wanted.
Well, I gotta say, the second ending was dead to me. I like the first ending.
I did the same. I went with door number 1. Yeah. But your book was and then I had followed you on it. I was watching a live you were on, and you were talking about how you didn't start writing until you were like in adulthood. Like you skipped the whole teen thing and went. And I was so impressed with your prose and your writing, and then just the story itself, because it was a different take on zombies than the normal thank our guys, which I thought was really clever. There's Jill. We were just talking about you, Jill. So I thoroughly enjoyed your book. So
that means so much to me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I sent you a copy, but it's not to you yet. It's gonna get to you next week.
I'm putting yours in the mail on Monday. So.
Oh, nice! Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I'm gonna devour it. I read this. I'm a slow reader, like really slow, and I read this in 2 days. Like that's very fast. That's lightning for me. Lightning fast. But thank you so much for your kind words about that. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. So jumping into Black Bear Alibi, if you are just joining us now, this whole beginning is going to be spoiler free. So if you've not read Black Bear Alibi yet, first go online and get this book right now. It is available in both. It's on Kindle Unlimited, right?
Yes.
So it's on Kindle Unlimited. If you have Kindle Unlimited, or you can grab a paperback like I did, or you can grab an ebook like this, or an audiobook. Like go ahead and grab this book if you have not read it yet. So we're going to be talking about this book. Don't leave the live because it is spoiler free. Spoiler free for the beginning. The last 10 minutes of the live, there may be spoilers just because I need to ask some questions. But before then, it's going to be spoiler free. So the first thing that I want to ask is, and this happens in the very beginning of the book, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything, is how do you go from the crime scene? Like in the crime scene for Black Bear Alibi. Oh wait, before I get to that, will you give the pitch for the book? Like what it's about?
Yes. Okay. So Black Bear Alibi is about a fictional island in the Pacific Northwest where we have a hunky ranger named Philip Russell. He is doing his morning rounds at the national park when he comes across a mama black bear. And she's got a little something on her muzzle. And so thinking she's found some breakfast and worried that she and her cubs might come back to it, he decides that he's going to pull it off the range road. And when he gets to what he thinks is a normal bear breakfast, he finds that it's not. That it's an unalive. Yeah, it's not. Anyway, so he of course calls in the authorities and meets the the island's newest sheriff, Sheriff Lane, and she's a little rough in the beginning. She's got a little bit of a chip on her shoulder, and they approach things a different way. She's very suspicious of everybody, and of course, because he grew up on the island, he trusts everybody. And they both find out that neither one of them are right. So, I want to argue.
So now, and JC touched very briefly on it, but there's, so you stumble in the beginning in this book on a crime scene, and that's what I want to ask you about. So in the crime scene, you lay out these clues, and the clues are things that you can unravel over the course of the book, because you keep going back to the crime scene, all those little details, like when I came across a crime scene, I read that section twice, because I'm like, oh, I know that there's going to be things in here, and I'm going to like sleuth it out, along with them. That's part of the like fun of this book, is just how well that the mystery is crafted, where you follow the clues and it leads to somewhere that you didn't expect, and it's a lot of twists and turns. So when you set a crime scene, and this can apply to this book and all your books, do you have all of those little details set out immediately, or do you discover them later and then bring them back? Like, for instance, like the ring that she's wearing. Did you put the ring on her and then decide where it came from, or did you know where it came from and then put the ring on her?
I knew where it was going to come from. So I am a plotter. I originally was a pantser. And I had started pantsing Black Bear Alibi, but there were certain things that I kind of already knew. I knew I wanted a general store. I knew I wanted those connections. And being that it's on an island, I had to keep things really tight-knit. Like, we couldn't be jumping over to the mainland every 5 seconds. So I needed also to be something, a clue to where this person wearing the ring could be a tourist, could be someone that bought it, or it could be a hometown person. So I definitely had it plotted out. I love to tell the story, so I'm going to tell it really quick. And everyone,
no, take your time. I'm excited to watch.
Everyone that's been on my lives, they're going to be like, oh, I've heard this before, but I love this story. So it's, once again, like I said, I used to be a pantser. And so I get the idea, I have the vision, I start to just write like a mad woman. And I I get to about the middle of it, and then the ideas run dry because I'm a creative well person. It just goes kaput. My father was reading the book as I was writing it. I was sending him the chapters as we were going, and I once again got to the middle of the book. Ideas ran dry, and I started to lose interest because I was like, I don't know where this is going, And so I have like 1,000 half-finished stories out there, and he was like, "Where's the rest of the book?" And I said, "Oh, Dad, I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know where it's going." And he goes, "Jennifer, you have a sheriff standing in the rain in her yellow parka, tapping her foot, wondering what the rest of her story is." And hand to heaven, I felt so guilty for my little character not knowing what her future held that I sat myself back down and I plotted the rest of the book. And if it had not been for my daddy, that book never would have come to fruition. It never would have ever been finished.
Well, I really love the fact that you shared that story with me, because I want to ask you about, and this is no spoiler, I'm not going to say what happens, but I love the way you develop that character over the course of the novel, because really toward the second half, we discover things about her personal life, like a little bit about why she is the way that she is. Because in the beginning, there's a lot of unexpected things, Obviously, the park rangers, they don't expect to see this cute little blonde sheriff get out of the truck, They're like, oh, like, what is she doing here? And I love, and I'm not going to say what they are, but I love the way you did her reaction to finding the body. That was unexpected, because of how she had presented herself, and then. So little things like that you did really made it feel real to me, because people are so gray, they're not black and white, like, and there's many layers. So sometimes the face that you give to the world is not the full picture. And, you really showed that with her, and allowed us to see her in different contexts. I love the fact that you gave her the yellow raincoat, because that was especially in that one scene. I'm not going to say it, but it was so visual. I could, with the light, I could see it. I was there. I was there in the room. It was heart pounding. My heart was in my throat. It was amazing. So I love what you did with Lane's character. I love her name. We'll just say that.
That's
Yes.
That's another fun twist.
Yeah, it really fun the way that you did it, and I'm so excited to see how she shapes up. So also talking about characters and about I would say incongruencies. Let's talk about Hattie for a second, because yes. So I don't know. No one spoil anything for me, because I have to read the second book. But so Hattie, I saw your video the other day, and I'm like, because I loved her. I loved her so much in this book. So I loved that she talked about the thing that happened in the past, and I want to know, does that come up ever again, or is that something you may explore in the future?
She does a little bit of it throughout the book. Hattie is the fan favorite for those that have not read the series. She is by book 4, she's 103 and a half. And she's actually based off of my own grandma, my grandma Hazel.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I love teasing lovingly my readers that I'm going to eventually have to Hattie, because she can't live forever. Can't. But then others say that she can live forever. There's a fountain somewhere on the island, and so.
Frozen.
Yes. So she. I'd like to. The thing about Hattie is she's such a people watcher. She sits in her little rocking chair and she sees people come and go. She's the queen of the gossip central. So she hears all the gossip on the island. People love to sit and chit chat with her. So she knows a lot. And because she's so old, she knows a lot about human nature. She has seen decades and decades and decades of the same thing. And so she keys them on things that other people don't. And so when you always want to pay attention to what Hattie's saying. And Phil and Lane always kind of like, they're always like, they think they know what she's talking about, but they typically don't. And so, yeah, you always want to pay real close attention to what Miss Hattie says, always.
I love how, and this is again with the authenticity and the way that you write, I love how when she was introduced, no spoiling, I'm just seeing how I can say it nicely, that the person that was the facilitator to that introduction tried to use her age as a shield. And I felt that when she shook that off, like you immediately, she came to life off the page. And I love that because I really feel that that's so authentic, you know, because people will be like, oh, little old lady, don't bother her. And then you see who she is and you're like, well, okay, you can tell me more. Oh, I love that. So I guess other than the middle where it was difficult, I really love the fact that that your father imagined her like tapping her foot waiting for the story to continue. I wonder if that impacted how her character arc turned out, or did you know her character arc before then?
You know what, you might, that's something I've never thought about. But now that you say it might have. Yeah. Like I said, I kind of just was writing her as I go. I knew I wanted her to be a certain way, and I knew by the end she was going to be softening, because I knew by the end that, you know, people weren't going to hate her. And it's, you know, because in the beginning she's not very likable. But, you know, hang in there. She gets a lot nicer as the book goes. But yeah, I mean, yeah, now that you say that, maybe it did. Yeah, now you got me thinking. Sorry, that's not really.
No, I love it. Yeah, because I feel like you know, maybe, you know, your dad fought for her, and then she talks about her relationship with her dad and also the rest of her family, and like she really came alive. Now, I liked her from the beginning, because I liked the unexpectedness of who she is, and you know, I accepted the fact that she would have to try to prove herself. I mean, she's on an island where she's an outsider anyway. She's in a job where she's an outsider anyway. And she has to kind of like, you know, and like her family background and everything, well, that you learn later. But I feel like she came like really, you know, guns a-blazing, because she had to stake her claim. She's like, all right, you're going to respect me.
Yeah.
Despite...
I had to write her that way because, being that it was a mystery, if I wrote her as easy peasy, then I didn't have an excuse for her to interview these people, because here you have Phil, who knows everybody, and he's telling her, oh, they wouldn't hurt a fly. Oh, he's the nicest guy on the planet. And so I had to have her be a little tough and really suspicious and doubting everything that anybody says, including Phil, because that I needed them to be opposite of each other.
Yeah.
Yes, a conflict. And then it gave her the perfect excuse to, like, when she interviews the pastor, and the way that she interviews the pastor and how she causes that exchange. But she's also smart enough to know that she needs Phil's help because it's such a tight-knit community. She's the outsider, and they may not want to talk to her. So instead of her trying to chase her tail, that's why she brings the ranger in on the investigation. But yeah, I wrote her specifically tough because I knew there had to be a reason that if I didn't, then there'd be no reason for her to question people as harsh as she does.
Yeah, and also the perfect reason to get Phil involved as a duo, you know, to soften people up. And I love the fact that Phil doesn't know people as well as he thinks he does. That's also something I think was brilliantly done. So her reaction to the pastor was so immediate and visceral. I wondered if you were gonna explore that, like maybe she like had something in her past that made her just feel that way.
I could. I've not in the other books. I think her point of view was she was very protective, because here's this young girl They don't know a lot about her to begin with. And so you're thinking, you know, she's the head of the church youth group. She's the cheerleading, you know, coach. She's, you know, so she's this pristine girl that has had something horrific happen to her. And I think Lane was just being really protective and assuming the worst of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
You know, including someone that would have an opportunity to be very close to her.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was envisioning it.
Especially the idea of the betrayal of trust there. What I think that really came across as like, you know, she trusted you and like, did you betray her? And actually, I think then trust does become like a core part of the whole thing, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Trusting someone to tell the truth, trusting like in somebody else, like for your safety. And so I kept going back to that crime scene, which is why I asked you like how you set up the crime scene. Okay, so can you talk a little bit about not just this one specifically, but how do you set up a crime scene like in general?
Okay, so I always start with the unaliving first. I always start with my victim, and it's kind of a, you know, you just kind of imagine, you're like, okay, well, and this sounds silly, but it's like, okay, I've drowned, I've severed, you know, so you're trying to think of something you haven't done to somebody else in the series. So I come up with the means, then I come up with who the victim is, and then I start to come up with why would someone do this to them? And then that's when I come up with my unaliver, and then I come up with my other suspects that will throw the red herring. So depending on the means of the, that's where the clues start to lay in place. Like what, and because I'm a big believer in breadcrumbs. I want my readers to be able to get to the end of the book, and when they reread the book or when they think about it, go, okay, yep, there it was in chapter 4, there it was in chapter 12, there it was in chapter 24. So without trying to give anything away, it's, I knew that there was going to, and then you have to think about if you were to do this to someone. I'm going to try not to sound like a crazy person, but like, you know, you'd leave footprints behind. You could leave fingerprints behind. You could leave your means behind, or do you take it with you? Like, there's all these things you have to think about. And so then you decide, is your unaliver, you want them to be clever. You want the mystery to be hard, but they have to mess up at some point.
Yeah.
Or it'll never get solved. You know, you've got to give your detectives something to work with.
Right.
And so that's why with Black Bear Alibi, you know, footprints become very important, and at the same time misleading, and it's confusing, and it's, you've got the mud. So, you know, is it even a legit footprint, or is it, did they sink in it? Like, there's just all these things that you have to do.
I was convinced. The footprints got me. That was one thing that I loved. So I want to talk to you about breadcrumbs because you did that so well. But I want to say that the footprints really, that's the thing that threw me. Like, I was very confident that I knew who the killer was, and I did good with it. But I was also wrong because of the footprints. The footprints messed me up. I'm like, but wait, this couldn't be like that because the footprints. Now I sound like the crazy person because of, like, if anyone comes in, I'm like, the footprints.
No. No, well, and in all honesty, one of them, I'm going to call it a mistake, but one of the things that I wish I could redo when I wrote book 1, never ever imagining that there would be a 2, 3, or 4. But I was so worried because I'd never written a book before that.
That's your first book?
That's my first book. Yeah, my first. Like, I mean, I've written stories, but that I've never published anything. That was my first legit book.
That is a hell of a first book.
Yeah. So one of my worries was that the reader wouldn't understand what I was trying to do. So I left some pretty heavy clues that if I was to go back now and like redo it completely, I would lighten a lot of things, because some of the complaints is, oh, I know who it was right off the bat. And then some of the complaints are not complaints, but some are like, I had no clue till the very end. So it all depends on the reader, especially if you read a lot of mystery. Yeah. But I think I would lighten some of that, because I did a lot of that. Did you see that? Did you pick up on that? Did you see that clue? I left that clue just for you. Yeah. I think I would kind of lay back on that a little bit if I was to redo it.
So I feel like you were also you are a master at misdirection as well, because you did leave those clues, which is the thing that gets people doubting it. So I wouldn't say that I'm a prolific mystery reader, but I've read a bunch of mysteries and thrillers, and I feel that the way that you did it, you really put the seed of doubt. Like you think it's this. I told you it was this, but wait, this. And then that made it so fun to read because then I'm like doubting myself halfway through the book. I was like, I know who it is. And I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, do I know? And then you begin to doubt everything that you know, and you begin to doubt your own existence. So the breadcrumbs, that is the thing. So sometimes I read a thriller and I get to the end, and the end, the writer is so excited to make like a crazy twist that nobody saw coming, that they make a twist that is honestly disingenuous. They make a twist that doesn't make sense with anything that you read before. So you're like, why did I just read the last 400 pages if you're gonna just ignore all of that and then make this twist out of nothing? You just complete, and then when you go back and you read the beginning, you're saying, wait, none of this makes sense. That is not how your book goes. Your book, once you know the end, you can go back to any scene and see how everything was laid out. I love that part of the craft. That to me is what makes a great thriller. It's what makes a great mystery. Is when you can go back to any scene in the book, and after you know the end, and you're like, I see what you did there.
I had a lot of fun with my last book 4, because when you read it, I intentionally wrote it a certain way so that the reader is looking through things through a certain lens. But by the time you get to the end, you realized you read the first section through the wrong lens.
Oh.
But it's all legit. Like it all makes sense. And so you naturally come to a certain assumptions as you read through the first time. But when you finally find out the solution, when you reread it, you're like, oh, okay, now I know why they did what they did. It's not because of this, it's because of this. So that was a lot of fun. I absolutely love deceiving people.
That sounds great. So for somebody who is just on book 1 or who's just starting it, so do you follow the same characters all the way through? Yes, notwithstanding. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, and then so I want to talk a little bit about how you created the idea of making this island.
Okay, so actually the whole thing that started with Black Bear Alibi is I had this 30-second little video imagination pop into my head, and all it was a Seattle ferry. It was stormy, the waves are crashing against the windows, rain's pelting against the windows, the lights are flickering, and there's this female sheriff, and she just has to get back to the island. And that's all that it was. It was just this little 30-second clip of that image, and I kind of went, what's she got to get to the island for in such a big hurry? Ooh, what if she's got and then it just started from there, and it really just took off from there. This little tiny clip. Same thing with book 2. I just had this thing of this gal that's standing on the precipice of this mountain, and I don't know, something happens, and I'm just like, why did they do that? Like, why would they do that? And it just kind of goes from there. Sorry, I'm always saying hi to people.
Oh no, that's okay. I appreciate everybody coming in. Want to say quickly, we are talking about Black Bear Alibi and the Rockfish Island Mystery Series. There's no spoilers right now, so don't be afraid if you haven't got this. If you haven't got this book yet, please go check it out online. You can get it on Kindle Unlimited, you can get a paperback, you can get an ebook. And at the very end, we are going to be talking about spoilers. However, we will give you so many warnings. We will give you like ridiculous amounts of warnings, so you can hang with us plenty of time.
I'd like to give a real quick shout out to Miss Carmen out there. I know what she's doing. She's hitting that like button like a crazy woman. So I see you. Thank you.
Oh, I also saw my friend Will Dev just came in. So I hold that. And also Jill Davies. Shout out.
Yeah. Jill, our zombie girl too. Fellow zombie girl.
So I am blown away that this is your first book. So can you talk about like what inspired you to become an author?
Oh, I always liked to write. I was writing even when I was in grade school, and I had the best English teacher because she'd give us assignment for like 500 words, and I'd hand in the assignment with 5,000 words. And she never docked me. She would give me the A plus 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 plus. She was always very encouraging, and I was always an avid reader. I grew up on a farm out in the boonies. Our closest neighbor was 3 miles away, and it was just my sister and I. And because I'm an 80s child, we had 3 TV stations and no satellite. So our imagination really kept us entertained. And so I was always coming up with stories and stuff. But I didn't get into mysteries until I was probably 8th grade. I had went into the library to get my Sun Valley High romance books because I was a romance girly and Judy Blume and all that good stuff. And as I was walking out, the Agatha Christie and Then There Were None book was on this little pedestal, and it showed this island with a boat of people, and they were heading towards the island. It's very mysterious and everything, and it just, there was something about it that just stopped me in my tracks. And I asked the librarian, what's this book about? And she said, oh, it's about these 10 people. They get mysteriously invited to this island. And once they get there, one by one, they're picked off and, unalived. And I was like, ooh, that sounds good. So I took it and loved it. And I have been mysteries ever since. And I have read everything that Agatha Christie has written. She's my hero.
Have you? I know that it's probably a long shot, but do you know if there's any way that you could track down that librarian to tell her like I became a mystery writer?
He passed away.
Oh no! Well then she knows already. Yeah, I do believe that. So that's so awesome. I love the fact that you discovered Agatha Christie. So and then that kind of like planted the seed for your love of writing mysteries. So you said that you started a lot of them, but then you stopped. Is that because you were pantsing and then you ended up plotting and then that allowed you to finish?
Yep. Like I said, Black Bear Alibi was the first book that I ever plotted. Like I said, I started out pantsing, then to finish it, I had to plot it out. So with all the books that I've written since, I've sat down and I have plotted from beginning to the end. Now, that's not to say that as I'm in the middle of writing it, that an idea or a better idea comes to mind, or a twist and you're like, oh, this would be so much better, doesn't, get put in. But basically, the mystery from beginning to end is figured out, because you have to figure out, not only who did it, why they did it, how they did it, what did they do to get caught. And, and then you got to figure out with what clues, how you're going to make people be suspects and legit suspects so that someone believes that they might be guilty. And most importantly, how your detective figures it all out legitly. Yeah. So there's a lot of working parts.
I like 2 things that you had mentioned earlier. One was that your villain has to make a mistake. And I was rereading this, going through it, and I ended up on the scene that I feel is the scene where the killer makes the mistake. The killer does this one thing, and it unravels everything. And it's just such a simple mistake too. So I love that you said that. I think that is a good ingredient, I guess, for a mystery. And the other thing is, where did I put it? Nope, I don't know what I did with it. But in Save the Cat, if people in the audience don't know, Save the Cat is like technically a filmmaking story structure that is adapted for novels. It's just basically like all of the great stories can be broken down into these beats and also these story genres. So when you were talking about how you laid out the crime scene, you talked about how it happened, and then you talked about who the person is, and then you talked about why. Not who did it, but why came before who. And I thought that was so brilliant, because one of Save the Cat story structures is why done it. It's not who done it. They said because the real point of a mystery is not to know who did it. We want to know why. We want to know what drove that person to do this thing. That part of human nature, like uncover it. Like Like, what could possibly have driven somebody to do this? That's more important than the who. Because if you just stopped the book at the point when you find out who did it, that's not satisfying. You want to know why. Why did they? And then, you also want to know all the little details, like all the questions that you had. That's why I say this is very satisfying. This is a very satisfying book. Like, there wasn't any burning question that I had that I felt was not answered. Like, I felt good about everything. You like really wrapped, up in a little bow at the end, to the point where you're like, oh, relief, because like, I hate cliffhangers. I understand why people, I know, well, I hope this isn't a spoiler, but I got, so I know that this book, I got it. Yes, somebody said, that it may have a cliffhanger at the end, but the second one is out now. So now I can be okay. Because I know that now I can just get the second one.
And I didn't think his book ended in what I would call a cliffhanger. Like, a cliffhanger is like, you're already in an apocalyptic world, so things are already upheaval. Yeah, and things are, and I don't want to ruin anything, but I didn't see how he could end it without ending the series. So he has to kind of like leave it a little open ended, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, so it's not a major cliffhanger at the end.
I didn't think it was.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Okay. That's just my opinion. Someone other, Kami, what do you think? Because Kami's read it. But it definitely is open ended. But I didn't think it was like, will they, won't they? That type of thing.
Okay, good. Yeah. Oh, Jill says she doesn't think a cliffhanger. Okay, great.
Okay, good.
Yes. Okay. Well, that makes me feel good because I've been waiting for this to be my October read.
Book 2 is phenomenal. I like book 2 better than I liked book 1, and he really put the pedal to the metal. Anyway, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. He is so. The thing about I'm just going to talk about my friend Otto real quick. Like, he writes women really, really well, I feel. And so he writes them smart. He writes them clever. They're not these damsels in distress, which is also something I liked about Jill's book as well, is because Jill, she has her hair, as also with yours. Like, it's, your character was very much like, she was like, he will not be going out there. I'm going to keep, so I like strong women. I like women to be really strong, because we are strong individuals. Now, we have our tender moments. We have our soft moments. There are moments when women need help, and because you have partners in life and all that kind of stuff. But I really do enjoy the way that he writes women. So
that is beautiful and it's very exciting. Yeah, I cannot wait to dive in. I love that. I made a video about that a while ago, about male authors that I felt write women just extraordinarily well. So I feel like Brandon Sanderson, I guess I would say that one of my inspirations for Amaya's voice was Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I loved his main character, Spencer, how just snarky as heck she was. And she's an attitude. She's like attitude. So yeah, the world is ended, but she's still got the attitude. I think that's important. Also, I like what you said about the strong women, but also like, sometimes they need partners, they need help. I felt that way, about Lane. She's really strong, but she's not invincible. Like, it bothers me when I read a book or see a movie where it's the complete opposite of the damsel in distress trope. It's because the writer is trying so hard to say, my girl is girl power and she's super strong and nobody can knock her down, that they just make her invincible, and then she doesn't feel real. And I feel like they're doing that to elevate women and put them on a pedestal to say women are so great. But I think the point is that people are great because they are flawed, because they have to overcome something, because they have weaknesses. Giving a character a weakness doesn't make them bad. It doesn't even make them not strong. A strong person has to overcome their weaknesses. That's why they're strong, not just because they're like good at everything naturally and they never have to struggle. Like, let your character struggle.
Yeah. So the people, people relate to the character better that way, you know, because like you said, writing and reading is escapism, but at the same time, you want to be able to feel and relate to these characters in a way. And if you, like you said, if you make them invincible and nothing touches them, that's just not relatable. We're all touched by something. So
I agree. I also feel like the idea of, not being able to accept help, like that was something that I felt was important for my book. Like and also I saw it in Black Bear Alibi. I see it in more and more books now. It makes me happy. Like you can have the hero need help. That's so important because I feel like it's a bad message to send people to say you have to do everything by yourself. You can never ask for help. Like, how is that good for your mental well-being? It's not. Just if you can't defeat the bad guy on your own, bring your buddies. Like yeah. Like it's not always a one-person show. Like, oh, I'm not going to give a spoiler, but you know.
I know.
So, yeah. Oh my gosh, the whole like when we get to the spoilers, we'll talk about the end. But just the way that you did the climax was so great. Like it was so visual. Oh, so let me ask you. So are you like a big movie fan? Like, are you a movie buff?
I do. I love 80s movies and 90s movies. I don't watch a lot of the modern day movies, but I'm a big retro movie fan.
We're going to dive into movies in a second, but I say it because I felt like that ending was very cinematic. Like the way that you wrote felt like a movie like unfolding in my brain. Like I could see everything happening.
It's a movie in my head as I'm writing it. And so, I've said this on other lives, is the way that I end my chapters is I envision the chapter ends when there would be a commercial break if this was a TV show.
Oh, I felt that. Yes. That's why the pacing is so great. Yeah. Yep. Yes. Also, your chapter length was also good, because you get to the point where you're like, one more chapter. Okay. All right. That went by quick. One more chapter. I lost sleep. I was up late. Yeah, just phenomenal. So let's talk movies.
Okay.
80s and 90s movies. What are your favorites?
Okay, I am a Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Alien, Lord of the Rings, Predator, Total Recall. Yeah, those are my jams. Those are my comfort movies that I watch. Death Trap is one of my favorite mysteries. It's in the 70s. It is Michael Caine and Christopher Reeve, and it's a murder mystery. So Christopher Reeve played the original Superman. Well, not the original, but the 80s Superman. Yeah. And that's one of my favorite fall-time movies to watch, that and Willy Wonka.
I'm going to check out Death Trap. I haven't heard of it before, and I do like Michael Caine. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I also like a lot of 80s movies. I would say I'm like The Labyrinth. David Bowie. That was, I would say that's definitely a staple of my childhood. It may cross over into 90s, but The Princess Bride.
Yes.
Like that. That's just like incredible movie.
Clue is another one that I absolutely love.
Clue?
Clue, yes. So have you not seen Clue?
No, I have seen Clue. Yeah.
Okay.
He was in Rocky Horror Picture Show. What's his name?
Oh
He's so famous. What's his name?
He's adorable.
The one on the left, us. Rocky Horror Picture Show. Tim.
Come on. Yeah. Is it Tim? Not Tim Conway. Tim. Oh, someone's gonna have to help us in the. Yeah, Carmen. Tim Wendell. Tim. I'm gonna have to get the movie. What is it?
Let's do the time warp again. What's his name?
Tim A, Tim B. So now I'm going to go through the alphabet. Tim C, Tim B, Tim E, Tim F.
What's his name?
Curry. Tim
Curry.
There we go.
It was in there. It was in the. Oh man.
He is wonderful. He is wonderful in that
Oh
movie.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Carmen.
That was so difficult.
Yeah, and in the Rocky Horror film, which I have that in my, sorry, I keep looking over here. You guys can't see it. I have a, on my DVDs. That's one of the movies that I have, and that man looks phenomenal in, you know, his nylons and his bustier, and
Got,
you know.
he got the moves for sure.
Looks great in his lingerie.
So recently, I had not seen a couple like classic '80s movies. I hadn't seen Die Hard until a couple months ago, and I started watching Die Hard because I was reading Save the Cat, and I was thinking like, oh, I really wanted. I'm a pantser in my blood. So my first novel, which wasn't Mortal Tether, this is my second one. My first one I pantsed, and it was a disaster because it was YA fantasy, ended up being 194,000 words, like a maniac. Maniac. I was having so much fun, and also my nephews were reading it as I was writing it. So they're like, "What happens next? What happens next?" So I just kept going, and yeah, it was crazy. I made every mistake you could possibly make.
Could you split it in two though?
No, I really can't because I think that I just have to cut a lot of stuff and then just shorten it down, but I just don't have that much editing in me. I think, you know, someday I will. But right now, I'm writing the sequel to Mortal Tether, and then I'm also writing like a romantic comedy that I'm working on. So I'm working on these. Also, I have like 3 projects. I also have an adult sci-fi that I'm working on. So I have like 3 things that I just round robin. You know, I do it because like, so really, the 2 that I pushed up to the top are Mortal Tether and this adult rom-com, because Mortal Tether book 2 is like intense on the brain. Like, do you get nightmares sometimes when you're writing like some scary stuff?
No,
I do. That's what I get for writing monsters, right? I write monsters and they're in the dream. So it's like I'm writing while I'm sleeping. And anyway, so you can only handle that so much. So I'm writing this romantic comedy to give my brain a break so I can sleep a couple nights of the week.
there you go.
Yeah. It's funny because it's not, Mortal Tether is not a horror. It's really not. It's like a thriller.
But it's written very suspenseful, and you're wanting to know what's going to happen next. And you know, without giving spoilers for your book, there was an unaliving that I was not expecting, which was also very heartfelt with and the connection that you later on. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I was like,
what is she doing? And also, if she would do that, what else will she do? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I showed people that you're not safe. Not safe. Yeah. So I love the way that you resolve this too, but no spoilers. I have to wait. I see. Oh, Wrath isn't. Hi, Wrath. Yes, I will tell him to stay up and keep my husband to stay up and keep the monsters at bay. But actually, this is funny because I'm a video editor and I edit trailers. So I was editing this horror trailer. And this is an aside because we were talking about horrors, and then he came and mentioned my husband. So it's a really funny thing happened. So I was cutting this horror trailer, and it was scary, and I was up late. So this is my fault. So I was up late, and because I couldn't sleep, so I was like, oh, I might as well work if I can't sleep. So I get up, I go to my computer, and I'm editing, and it's scary. It's like The Exorcist type scary. So I'm editing, and then I hear a noise, and I'm like, oh. I'm like, no, I need to relax. I'm just scaring myself because I'm working on this horror trailer and it's fine. There's nothing there. It's fine. So I'm like working. And then I hear a noise again. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, it's fine. You know, if there's something, the dog would bark, like, you know, it's fine. So I'm working, and then all of a sudden I see a big shadow come in the hallway, and I scream, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I turn, and my husband had gotten up, because I wasn't there and he was going to check on me. Anyway, but I literally screamed, like full on.
Blood curdling, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually don't do well with horror. Like, I like suspense better. And so earlier you had mentioned Monstra Inter, which is, if anybody, so there's some books I want to recommend people in the audience. If you are looking for things for October to read that have will give you that spooky vibe. So earlier, JC was mentioning 2 books. So Jillian Davies, who is also in the audience, has a zombie series that you will check. Please check out her. Like you can see the.
Due North is book 1, and Into the Deadlands is book 2, which is also available on audiobook.
So go follow her. She's in the comments there. Maybe Jill, can you leave another comment so that people can see your posts? So that way people can go follow her. And then also, I don't think she's in the room, but C. Britt wrote a really awesome zombie book called Monstra Inter, which I felt was like 28 Days Later meets Outbreak. Like that's what it felt like to me. I love the way. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I loved how, because you have different people that you're following. There's different. It's like all these little different side stories.
Yeah.
And she weaved them in such a way that she'd end with one and start with a different character or a different tale. And so you'd be like, wait a minute, I want to know what's so you had to kind of wait your turn. So you kept turning the pages because you wanted to know what was going to happen next. And then she weaved it to where they finally came together. Some of them came together in a very clever way so you're like, and
I
then
love that too.
And she had at the very end an option to pick your ending.
Which was dead to me. I told her that too. I'm like the second ending is dead to me. I like the first ending. If you read the book, you'll see why. It's just because my nature, like I need the first ending. No to the second ending. But I really enjoyed it because with multi POV, often I find myself. Now, of course, you have your favorites. Like I even in that book, I had my absolute favorite POV. But normally, like with multi POVs, there's one POV that maybe I don't really love that I'm like, I got to get through so I can find out what happens to the person I love. But with hers, with that book, I felt like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones has the multi POV, but I love them all. Like even if I was like wanting to know what happened to like one of the people specifically, I'd be like, well, I'll get another Arya chapter in like 5 chapters, but these other things in the meantime, like I also want to know. So that's how I felt. I loved all the movies. I thought she did so good. Also, her pacing was excellent.
Her pacing was really, and she wrote a really good villain. She wrote the villain, the female villain. That I'll give you that hint.
Yeah.
That I was like, when is she gonna bite it?
Stuff with the kids too. With the that's all I'll say. With the kids, that broke me. I'm like, don't you see, Britt? So yeah, no, she's totally amazing. Absolutely love it. So we've recommended some books now. So also this is on my TBR. So these are good October books. Also, if you aren't into monsters because you get nightmares, believe me, I know. I write monster book, I still get nightmares. So then this book will make you lose sleep because you will be up reading it late, but no monsters. Well, except people. People are sometimes monsters. So if you think about it like that,
the cover looks a little horror-ish. Looks a little like it's but it's really not scary.
When did you come up with the title Black Bear Alibi?
So that just came to me. That was the title from day one, was Black Bear Alibi. Once I knew once I figured out how they were going to have their that's where that title came from, and it stuck from the very, very beginning all the way through. It's my favorite title. the second book, the push, that originally I was going to go with, when I finally decided to make it into a series, I thought, well, I'll just do animal themes through the whole thing, which did not end up working well. But this book 2 was going to be scapegoat, scapegoat, mountain goat. That's what it was going to be. And then my friend was like, that's really lame. And I was like, oh, okay. So we just ended up with the push, which, I mean, I wish I could have thought of something else.
You have Rockfish Island, so I mean, technically, there's an animal for all of them. If you think about that.
Yeah,
But,
that's true.
yeah, Black Bear Alibi is such a great title, and also really clever the way that you made that. Well, I guess I can call it an alibi, like the way that they try to cover up the unaliving. So, do you know how many books you're going to put in the series, or are you just going to write as your heart goes?
So this is the fun thing, is when I had first started, I'd read somewhere that a series should have at least 6 books. And so I got it stuck in my head that I was going to do 6 books. I have found out since then that is not the case, but I still have it in my head for 6 books. And as the series has progressed, the relationship between the ranger and the sheriff has things go, and so you're following their relationship, their work relationship, their friendship. It's progressing as things go. So it needs a couple more books for that to come to whatever fruit, whatever it's going to be. Yes. So, and then I am very seriously playing with the idea, because people don't want to lose Miss Hattie, doing a prequel set in the 1950s, where Miss Hattie is still the island. It's would be different characters because they're all, but she and her husband Earl will be solving their own little mysteries, which will also explain why when you read the Rockfish Island mystery series, why she knows, why she's so keen, why she picks up on things, is because she's been solving mysteries all her life.
So you had left some things in Black Bear Alibi. One was when Hattie talks about, all right, so we may end up. Okay, it's 9:30. I feel like that's it's time. It's time. There will be some spoilers, some minor spoilers before we give any major. We won't be talking about the end, but there will be some details from Black Bear Alibi. If you have not gotten this book, please head on over. Where do you like people to buy your book? Where's your number one place? Is it Amazon?
Amazon is the Zon. Yeah.
The Zon. Oops. Oh my gosh, I said the word. The Zon. Go over to the Zon and check this out. Kindle Unlimited, ebook, and paperback. Which question was going to ask you?
An audiobook.
Was it detail? Oh, I remember. So Hattie, when you first meet her, now I can talk freely. Oh, thank God. All right, so some spoilers. So when we first met her, and he's like, oh, she has to go home and take a nap, and then she's like, I hated that girl. I was like, yes. That was because I was surprised, because you didn't really know her character up until that point. I mean, and to see it from this woman's perspective was just so awesome. I love that. I love that you made the victim not a perfect victim,
Right.
Like you gave her a backstory. You gave her motives, multiple motives from different directions of why people would want to do the thing. One of the things that threw me a little bit, because you did leave all those little breadcrumbs in there, was they mentioned the other deaths that had happened just in passing. There was a drowning or something. And those little things, I was thinking to myself, they had, you had mentioned that it was probably not the killer's first rodeo, that they had probably done it before. So I kept going back in my head to those previous, the drowning and something else too. I was like, oh, are those things connected to this? That was in my head. And then also Hattie mentioning those murders that had happened years and years ago. So that really upped the mystery level for me, because I was like, okay, this town has a rich history. Like, even if it's not connected to this person, like all these things are happening that are mysterious. So I definitely felt it. So
And just to give you an encouragement, so book 2 actually is in reference to one of those unalivings that was brought up.
that is exciting. I am very excited to read book 2. I cannot wait. The push. Yeah, it's I cannot wait. So excited. So I guess I will ask. I think I had started to ask, but then I think I got derailed. What was the hardest part of writing this book?
Oh, definitely when I was pantsing it and I had run out of ideas. I had gotten to where I didn't know how she was going to solve it. I already knew who had done it. I knew who my bad guy was. But I just didn't know how I was going to bring everything together. And I just hit a wall creatively. I just, and like I said, because I was pantsing it, it was flowing, it was coming to me. I didn't even need to think about it. And when that ran dry, I just hit a wall. And so, like I said, if it hadn't been for my dad's encouragement, I wouldn't have sat down. And when I sat down, that's when I was really like, okay, I felt like I really had to do it. So when you have a problem that you really have to solve, you solve it. So that's what I did. I would say with the other books in the series, probably my hardest part is just writing the book. Unfortunately, it's just my process, as Kami keeps telling me, who's my buddy, she's my critique partner, is I edit as I write. So it takes me forever to write a chapter. I will just kill this, but when it's done, it's done. Like, I mean, my book will still go to an editor and she'll do the fine tuning and catch the typos and all that kind of stuff. But it's pretty much not much is going to change. But that really does slow down. Carmen knows what I'm talking about. It slows down my process. And I envy those people that can just write that rough draft and can just get their story down and then go back and do the fine tuning. And I'm unfortunately doing the fine tuning as I'm going. But sometimes, because there are so many moving parts, for example, the one that I'm writing now, we have a cold case and we have a modern day mystery. We have a modern day. So Philip will be tackling the cold mystery, which is going to be set in the 1950s. And he's going to go to Hattie for help, who's going to be suspiciously tight-lipped. And then you have the new mystery, which is going to involve strangers and one of the locals that's another fan favorite. So it's a lot of moving parts. It's two mysteries in one. And so it's taking me long because I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything.
Oh, yeah.
That's the hard part, is it just doesn't come out as easily as I would like it to, even though it's fun.
I think that what you said is I mean, these things take time, because you make it so that way when you go back, like every scene makes sense after the end. So the way you made it very satisfying. And I think in order to make a satisfying book, you really do need to put the time in to do all that stuff. So yeah, I totally get it. So when you plot, like what's your method of plotting? Do you have a specific tool that you use? Do you just pen and paper it?
No, I just start with a list of the characters, the victim, the suspects, like who are the top suspects, and then I single out who actually did it. And then I add in my red herrings, who are my red herrings, and then I start listing my clues.
One second, hold on. Hey. My dog is chewing up the paper.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, I heard the sound. Hey, you. It's because he had his toy by my foot and I wasn't playing with him, so I was like, I'll show you.
Right.
What kind of puppy is he? So
what kind of puppy?
What?
What kind of puppy?
Hey, well, maybe I can pick him up if he. Hey, come here. What do I got? Where's this? Where's this? Nope, I'm not throwing it. Come over here, I want to pick you up. No, he's camera shy. Hey.
Yeah.
All right, I have to throw his bone. He's like a Yorkshire Terrier, but he's different colors. Sorry, I'm so sorry about that. He's crazy. All right, sorry, go ahead.
I don't remember what I was saying.
Okay, we were talking about we were talking about plotting.
The way that I plot out the books. Yeah, the way I plot out the books.
Yep. So you said that you create the characters first, and then you create the situation essentially of like how like the unaliving, and then how do you take it from there?
And then from there,
red herrings.
I do a real quick, basically I do a quick surmise of the book. So the opening scene, and then why this person thinks this, what Lane thinks that, what causes her to think this, what causes Phil to think that, and then I just get to the end, and I climax will be a burning barn or whatever, and then that's it. Yeah, and then I just and then I get to the writing it. So I go back and I reference my outline quite often because it's like, what's my next step in this? And then that's also like where other ideas pop in that I'm like, oh, this actually would be better, because sometimes as you're writing these characters, these new characters, you don't know who they really are, and suddenly I might have envisioned them being very demure,
very mindful.
Yeah, very demure, very mindful. But they end up being sassy pants, and I'm like, okay, well, this isn't going to work. Like, I'm going to have to change this up. And would a sassy pants do this? No, but she would do this. And so that's where the little bit of pantser comes in.
So I think that when I edit as I write, it changes the course of the story, because sometimes I edit as I write and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this would be better. So it kind of like lets me go through. So like I did a hybrid approach for this. Like my first book, as I told you, was a disaster. I pantsed it, and it was a disaster. But this one, I wrote down like major bullet points of like what I wanted to happen. Like I knew scenes, and then I had the freedom to, in between the scenes, connect it however my brain wanted to connect it. So do you think that your process is kind of similar to that? Like you have like awesome.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's like you leave the segues. You actually pants the segues. Is I guess a good way to put it. Like you said, you got your bullet points, but how you get from point A to point B is that's where you pants. That's where you try to how you connect the scene. Yeah.
So for the first time, I am now plotting a novel where I'm actually it has so much structure, it's crazy, and I thought that I would be upset, because I do have this like very free spirit. Like I like to, but actually I feel good about it. So hopefully it's not going to be a disaster, but we'll see. So let's talk about the climax. There's going to be some spoilers. So plug the ears if you have not read this book yet, or go to Amazon right now and get this book, or to your local library, you can go request the book. So or it's on Kindle Unlimited. So the climax. So when did you know that? I feel like the climax was multiple parts, because there is the part where you absolutely know that he is in danger, where you know that he is with the killer and that he is in a very vulnerable position, and you're screaming at him, "Why are you an idiot? Get out of there! Don't you know that's the killer? I know that's the killer." So you know that, and you know that at the point. I'm like still scared to give spoilers.
Right.
But, yeah. You know that at the point with the conversation with Lane's family, like you are sure at that point, and that's the mistake that the killer made. The killer made the mistake of saying the lie, and that lie ended up exposing the truth. So that moment to me is the start of the climax, where you know that he is in danger, and like everything's about to hit the fan. So then from there it climbs to the shootout, where if she didn't slip, then it would have been over. Lights out.
Right.
Yeah. So now is the point where you're like, oh, it's real. It's go time. You know, bullets are flying. Like stuff is happening. And then the chase into the store. That the way you did it with the flashlight and the parka and the kitty litter, like the sound, you heard it, you know, like you were worried for her to take 2 steps, you know, because she's like crickle, 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 crickle.
Yeah. The squeaking of the parka.
And you know, anybody who was like, you know, who was, I was a teenager in the 90s, we definitely had clothes that like crinkle, 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 like,
oh yeah.
all our clothes are like 80% plastic, I think.
Windbreakers were very like, yeah, everyone was wearing windbreakers and you couldn't move without,
no, not too much range of motion, and also not something that you want to sneak in. There's no sneaking.
Yeah.
So
and at one point she even gets snagged on something because of it.
Oh,
you know? So that was fun too.
So seeing the flashlight and the bright yellow, that was in the dark. That was such, you know, because it makes her like a beacon, you know, like where she doesn't want to be seen, but she's wearing this like ridiculous thing.
Which made sense though for her to wear it because it's always raining on the island, so it wasn't like a.
It made sense. So at what point did you craft that? Did you say that you were going to have this yellow parka be like part of this crazy scene, or did she wear the parka because it was practical and then it ended up causing problems in the scene?
She when I had my little 30-second clip, she was wearing a yellow parka.
Oh, beautiful!
So I didn't even think about it. It was just part of her ensemble. And then as the story went, and it made sense. Like I said, it's always raining. It was too big on her because I wanted to. It was also another great way to show how you know, compared to these big burly men, you know, how genteel she was. You know, how tiny she was in this male-dominated career. And so here she comes out with a parka that's way too big for her to wear, but she still wears it because it's raining, and it's to her, it's like, this is just part of my uniform. Yeah. And then when it got to the climax scene, you know, this is where you start to think of the realities of it. Like if you were in that situation, this would be something that would hamper you. This is something that would go against you instead of with you. So it was just natural to write how it would get snagged on something or make noise when she's trying to be sneaky and quiet. And
that was brilliant. I love the fact that was part of her character from the beginning. I mean, from the first inception of this mystery series. And I also love it because I feel like she stuck out like a sore thumb because she was an outsider. As I said before, in her job, she was an outsider. In the town, she's an outsider. And like she sticks out like a sore thumb, like also because she's dressed like this, you know. So I love that. So I really feel, I felt that Phil was the main character. Like he felt like the main character to me in Black Bear Alibi, but she felt like she was a force that could hold her own with him, you know? So I'm interested to see how their dynamic changes over the course of the next, you know, especially as she becomes part of the community, you know, now that she has, you know, now that she's moving there. So yeah, I'm so excited. So I would say that, you know, I love the fact that the climax had multiple levels. You know, as I said, so we start out with, you know, that he's in mortal danger, but he's an Indian and he doesn't know it. And then how it climbs from there to the shootout, and then it climbs from there to like in the yard and with the flashlight thing, which was just masterfully done. And then also the discovery, you know, and then how, and I'm not going to give the rest of the following action because just in case somebody has just joined. So how much, like when we talk about the different parts of the book, like we talk about the beginning and the setup, and then we talk about all the red herrings, everything in the middle, and then this climax, which was a pretty long climax. I felt like it was, but it needed all that time in order to ramp up the tension. So what do you think took you like the most effort to do? Like, was it the middle part and all those little moving pieces, or was it like getting a tight ending, or like how did that happen?
Writing the confession when the unaliver spills all the why they did it,
Yeah.
how they did it. That was because you have this character viewed a certain way throughout the whole entire book, and then when you get to this scene, you're like, there's something wrong, and I had to explain what pushed them to that point, why they were so conniving, why they came up with this, and how they came up with this. And so I rewrote that scene. I can't tell you how many times. I changed her verbiage, how she said it, her expressions of how angry she was, or how happy she was, or if she laughed or if she didn't laugh. And finally, my dad's like, "Stop! You just you got it. Like, just stop fiddling with it. You got it. Like, it makes sense. Just now, finish it." And I do love the very ending. It makes me cry every time I read it. When Phil and Lane kind of have the very last part. I took, to be honest with you, I was really influenced by Jim Butcher and the Dresden Files. Jim Butcher, if you've not read his series, oh my gosh, I think it's like 12 books now. It's a fantasy mystery, but it's magical. His main character, Harry Dresden, is a real life wizard in Chicago, in modern day Chicago. And it's got vampires, it's got demons, it's got angels, it's got everything. And he writes so clever, and he's hilarious. On top of that, there's a lot of humor, but he does an excellent job of action. And each book he ties up with a nice little bow. And he also has a lot of characters that become like family as you go through this series. I mean, he's just phenomenal at it. So I highly recommend it. His first book, which is The Stormfront, it's okay. But book 2 and on, phenomenal.
Do you have to read book 1 in order to read book 2? Like, are they read in order?
Yeah, I think you do, because you get introduced to who Harry is and some other main characters, and there's a lot of character points. I mean, I like it. It's just not, to me, the rest of the series is much fun. Yeah, I mean, but it's not a bad book by any means.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I say, but he does a phenomenal job of, because he puts his character into a lot of different scenarios. He's doing more than one thing. He's solving more than one mystery. There's all these different types, so you kind of have to pay attention. And he does a really good job of each book bringing it all together, having it all make sense, and it's a heart-pounding climax every time, because Harry has to save the day. And I had read a climax of his book as inspiration, and then sat down and wrote my climax. So it just, his pacing, I tried to, I guess, mimic would be a good word, to mimic his pacing and mimic how he brings everything together. And he explains it, and then you kind of get this little after shot, which is what I've done with all of my books, that you have the big ending, and then you get to see maybe a couple months down the road, maybe a couple weeks down the road, how the main characters are doing and how they're dealing with what they just went through. And I love that. So he's a huge inspiration, and yeah, he's one of my.
I'm so interested to read it now. I mean, not only the recommendation, but also to see, because I loved your climax. So I'm interested to see it. I think it's good for authors to take inspiration from things, like understanding like what pacing like makes you excited as a reader. Like, that's why I said, like, I loved Spence's voice in that Brandon Sanderson book. I'm like, I want to create a character who like is in your face, you know. So she's a totally different character than Spencer, but I took that to heart. I'm like, I want to make a character that makes someone feel the way that made me feel. Like, and so that's the same thing with like when you're talking about pacing for your climax. Like, you love that climax. You're like, I want to make a climax that makes someone feel the way that I felt, you know, during this book. So I want to mention one thing that it occurred to me, because when you mentioned his characters, like, one thing that I thought that you did extremely well with this, I still cannot get over the fact that this is your first book, because it was just freaking incredible. But when you're talking about all the different characters, you have a big cast here, like a really big cast. But I was able to keep everybody straight because you made everybody jump off the page with like unique mannerisms, unique ways of speaking, like they were always clear to me. You know, even the names that you chose, like, made it clear. Like, you weren't confused going through, like, when you're meeting with different people. So I felt that was well done, because when you have a big cast, that's hard, you know, because you're like, wait a minute. But that's a hard thing about fantasy too, because you're reading fantasy and you're like, wait a minute, this obscure word that they introduced 3,000 pages back, I'm supposed to know it was something to do with the history. Like, you know, like the little details, you know, but there was a lot of little details that you had to keep straight, but you made it so that you kept them straight.
I wised up as well, because as the series continues, you have people that fall in love with the original characters, so they want to see more of them. But then you have to add new characters, because the island is more than just 5 people, and then you have to add strangers, because you can't kill off everybody on the island. You know, so you know, and that's the other thing about a mystery, is you have to have more than just 3 suspects. Yeah, because you know it's not that hard to figure out. So by book 4, I finally wised up, and I put in the front of the book a character list of the suspect. I really wish I had done that with the first 3 books, and maybe someday I will go back and do that. But that's what I'm going to do from on out, is because it does get to be a lot of people. In the book 2, The Push, you have some characters that, and there's a reason why, they have very similar names. And so for a lot of people, they had a hard time, like got a little bit confused. It made sense when you got to the end, but I really wish I had done a character list that time. So
yeah. So with Black Bear Alibi, I definitely felt that you did it perfectly. Like, I wasn't confused about anybody, like who was who. But that's really interesting about the similar names too. So I had seen something, I think it was George R. R. Martin, but I forget who said it, that said, if you have a big cast, one thing that's good is to make all of your characters have a different letter of the alphabet that their name starts with. And so I did that for Mortal Tether. I'm like, okay, that's why you see like Xander, Zelda, like you see some weird names in here, and it's because I really wanted people to know, okay, I've got a big cast of these kids that have survived.
But it made them stick out. It made them stick out because of the uniqueness of the names too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were neat names, but they weren't so off the wall that you were like, Zozika, what was that? Right. Like, you know, you've heard of Zelda, you've heard of like, you know.
Right. Yeah, and also I feel like those characters too, like like I chose their names like because I wanted them to be different. I mean, they both stand out in like their unique ways, those two specifically. One starting with an X, one with a Z. Yeah, so I want to ask, so how long do you think, without pressure, but like in between books, like how long does it take you to write a book, just generally?
It honestly takes me 1.5 years. Now, I'm not a full-time author, so work has, you know, I have a full-time job that takes a lot of my brain power. On top of, I'm very family-oriented. I spend a lot of time with my family. Shortly after I started writing book 2, my father passed away. So that took a lot of time. And then when I was writing book 3, which book 3 is a little bit more grittier than the first 2, because I was processing and didn't realize it. It wasn't until after it was released, people were like, that's a little bit more. And I was like, sorry. And then when I was writing False Findings, which is book 3, my mother had back surgery and her derma got nicked. And so all the blood in her, all the spinal fluid in her head dissipated, and her brain sunk, which caused a brain bleed.
Oh my gosh.
So we were told that she wouldn't ever walk, she wouldn't talk, she'd need a nurse, she wouldn't ever eat again, all these terrible, terrible things. And praise the Lord, she is perfectly fine. But we were in nursing homes. This was all during COVID on top of everything else. Yeah. So I've had some major issues in between that have taken from my writing. I dream of being a full-time author at some point. I think I would probably produce a lot more. Like you, I also have as a palate cleanser in between when I get a little bit stuck. I just started working on a rom-com myself. And it's about a girl who is she cleans houses for hoarders, and she's working on this ranch, and this old gentleman, he's in a nursing home. He'd fallen because of the hoard, and so she's doing a good deed and she's getting it all cleaned up. But he also has all these junker cars, and so this guy comes to be the junk removal guy. Well, she's a little tough on her luck, and he accidentally junks her car, thinking it's one of the junk cars for the So to make it up to her, he decides he's going to drive her wherever she goes until she gets her replacement vehicle, and then I'm on the cusp of like, do I make it a rom-com mystery or do I just make it a rom-com? And so that's kind of something I've been playing with on the side on top of. And then I also have some really good just single standalone non-Rockfish Island related standalone thriller books ideas on top of the series where I want to do with Miss Hattie. So I'm brimming with ideas. It's just having the time and energy and creativity to be able to get them out. So I'm really hoping book 5, do not hold me to it, people, but I would really like to have it out by March.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, not holding you to it, but looking forward to all of them. I can't wait to read the second book. And then I would love to do another live with you once I do, so that way I can pick your brain with it. It's so fun to small spoiler, but so I told you that the thing that got me was the footprints. I was convinced there was 2 killers the whole time. I'm like, okay, I know who the first killer is, which was the correct killer. I'm like who is killer number 2? Like, I couldn't handle it. Like, I'm like, who is that? At first I thought it was the daughter, and I'm like, no, that doesn't seem right. And then maybe I thought that it was well, I won't give too much, but anyway, I was trying to come up with a duo, and then I couldn't do it. And then the way that you did the reveal, I'm like, oh, thank God, she told us. She told us. because it was the depression with the footprints. I knew there was 2 people wearing shoes. So if there's 2 people wearing shoes, then yes, 2 killers. It must be 2 killers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 2 killers, people. I'm cruel. I'm so cruel. So I'm very excited about this rom-com too. So let's talk just for a second about your process of releasing the book. So do you have beta readers now? Do you have you have an editor? So do you send it to your editor and then send it to beta readers?
Yes. So right now I have my editor, and then I recently with this book I have a critique partner, which is my buddy Kami, who also have to show it off, sent me this cute purse. Isn't that adorable, people? Look at that.
I saw that video earlier today. That's amazing.
Cute. So she's my critique partner. I kind of bounce ideas off her, or if I'll be like, oh, this character, they're just, I want them to say this, but it just doesn't sound like how real people would talk. And she's like, oh, well, I'd say blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly how they would say it,
Yeah.
And so she's really, really helpful with that kind of stuff where I get a little bit stuck on things because I get so stupid about it. And then when the book is finally finished, then I send it to my editor. She goes over it. And then with the last book, I had maybe 10 ARC readers. I since then have had a lot of people reach out and be like, please, 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 please let me be an ARC reader. And so that probably will expand a little bit, but I'm not a big send out to 50 ARC readers. I just, because it's already so set in stone, I don't know, I'm just not. I know that there's some people, and I'm not just, I'm not anyone that does send out a lot of ARC. That's great. I'm not poo-pooing that at all. It's just not my process.
I feel like ARC should just be for when the book is really done and you're just trying to get reviews, I know that some ARC readers want to send feedback, and I mean, that's good, but at that point though, the book is ready to go, if you have
if you want to say there's a typo, and I'd be like, oh, okay, that I can do, but if you want to fix.
Yeah, but if they're like, I hate 5 of the characters and this black stretcher's wrong, then that's not helpful. Especially when you're pre-orders are already up. It's getting ready to go. So no, I also think that there's the idea of too many cooks in the kitchen. You know, like you have to tell the story how you want to tell it. Not that you shouldn't take. So with Mortal Tether, because I was, you know, even though it was my second book, I didn't publish the first one. I was a brand new baby author. I did hire some like beta reading companies, so that way, because I needed objective feedback that wasn't like my mom and my aunt being like, "This is great," because they love me.
Exactly. Of course I do.
So I hired a couple beta readers, and I did. So I have like a list on my website of like questions that I asked them that were helpful to me. And one of the questions I asked them was, "Which was your least favorite character?" And that helped me so much because it helped me identify the characters that were like less good, you know, because they were less fleshed out, you know. So now one of the ones that this person said was her least favorite is now one of my personal favorites because I put more energy into her because of that feedback. So I think I will have beta readers. I mean, I won't have to, now that I have a book out, I won't have to hire someone again because I have, you know, friends now that will, you know, read in my genre that will do it. But I think that there's no wrong way. You know, like what you described is a great way. Low battery. You have, you know, you send it to your critique partner and then you send it to your editor. So I guess let's talk about. Whoa! I can't believe. It's 10 o'clock. But I just want to ask you this one question. I can't not ask it for you. So
we got 17.8K likes. Thanks, everybody.
Really? Holy moly! Thanks, everyone. That's awesome.
My fingers must be broken.
So, oh my gosh, that's amazing. There's two things. So the first thing is, how did you find your editor? Was it somebody that you knew before, or?
It actually was someone I went to high school with. She was a year ahead of me. So when I did Black Bear Alibi, I did it all the wrong way. I only had family and friends read it. I did the self-editing myself. Carmen says it's actually on her phone. It shows 22.3. Boop, boop. Thank you, Carmen. So I released Black Bear Alibi. It had a completely different cover. And she reached out to me and she's like, "Listen, I loved your book. I would love to edit your next one if you do another one." And I was like, "You think there should be another one?" And she's like, "Absolutely." And so then as the book was, you know, doing better and then reviews started coming in, people were commenting about how there's typos and this and this and that. She reached out to me again and she's like, I was curious and I read your reviews and, would you mind if I went through Black Bear Alibi and, look for typos for you and stuff? And so I was like, no, that'd be awesome. And she did it all for free.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because she just wanted to see me succeed. That's awesome. So when it came to book 2, I reached out to her and I was like, okay, I want you to do it, but I'm paying you. I'm not going to, she gave me a killer deal though. And even now she still gives me just a remarkable discount. And she's just her name's Heather Payne, and I just love her to pieces. And it truly is. She just wants to see me succeed. And she's also does my covers too. So she did. The first book was done by Fiverr. So was book 2. Both those were $35 for my covers.
Wait, so did she do this one?
That was done on Fiverr for $35.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, this is a killer cover.
Yeah. And this was also a Fiverr cover. This one's fun because this is actually a tropical jungle. And we just put fog over it so you can't tell. But she did do the cover for False Findings and the cover for Within the Pines. So wow. Yeah, but she's just phenomenal and just has a very generous heart and so yeah, I'm very blessed to have people like that in my life. So
that's wonderful. It sounds like it was meant to be.
Yes.
Amazing. So my other question is, I would love to do another one of these after I read your next book because it was so cool, like getting to ask you questions about about the different parts of the book, and we did good. I feel we didn't do it at the end. So and also we didn't say who the killer was.
No.
Yeah, but we still did, do a little bit split. So yeah, so after I read the next one, let's do it again.
Okay, I'll put it in the mail on Monday.
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, so that will also go in my October read. So I've got some exciting October reads. I will mention again. I've got Rust Colored Rain. If you are looking for a book for October, if you haven't read Black Bear Alibi, this is suspenseful. It will keep you on the edge of your seat. You will lose sleep because you will not be able to put it down. Also, if you like zombie books, there's Rust Colored Rain. This is on my TBR. I have not read it yet. Jillian Davies has Due North. So that's the first one. And then she's two in her series. Into the Deadlands is the second one. That's also available on audiobook. These are also available on audiobook. And also Monster Enter by C. Britt. That's another fantastic zombie book. If you are looking for something for October.
Along with Mortal Tether, which I read and absolutely loved. Okay, you got to put it up. There we go. Look at that cover. The cover is gorgeous. It made me want to also see your book redone as a comic, not a comic. I don't know. They don't call comic books anymore. A graphic novel, I guess.
Yeah.
I think you should totally do a graphic novel side of it too. That would be awesome.
That would be so fun. I think I'm gonna make some very small changes to the cover. So I drew these little guys down here.
You did great.
Thanks. Yeah, but they don't look as good as this, as the center. So I think I'm gonna do some photoshopping and just, it won't look very different, for the people who've gotten it. But I'm thinking about when I do.
Gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah, gorgeous.
See, you know what? I'm on the fence about it because I like how they're black and like the black goes.
Yeah, I think and it really makes the middle, it makes the title pop. It makes the gal, the character in red. I think it's very, it's a great, I keep them dark.
Thanks.
Keep them dark. Yeah.
So I do graphic design work. So I did this cover. And actually I'll show the inside. So this. Yeah,
well, gorgeous.
I didn't draw this, but I worked with an illustrator to do this, and then so I also do like interior formatting and all of this stuff. But I felt that the cover was very stressful. I redid the cover 8 times. Because I couldn't I wasn't happy with anything. And then so like the fact that you got this on your first shot for $35 is absolutely incredible.
It's hilarious. I have shared on one of my newsletters the versions I got, because originally I had the vision of a tree stump, and then there would be a hand sticking out with the ring, and it would have a little bit they had like a little bit of, and it would just be there. And what I kept getting back was like this Dracula hand with all this gore and it was awful. It was absolutely awful. So I was like, take the stump out, take the hand out, leave the bear, put some fog, we'll call it good.
No, I like this because it's very intriguing, and it goes perfectly with the visual of the name. I love the font that they chose.
The sad thing is it's not a black bear, though. That's the only thing I wish I could change. It's a grizzly bear because they didn't have a picture of a black bear. So that was the reason why we added the fog in and kept it really dark.
I see. Yeah, I couldn't tell, but I don't really know my bears. So, but now that I know, that's good. Now I know this one's run, not play dead. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yes, exactly.
Well, see, your book probably just saved my life, because just in case.
That was the other thing. I'll make it really quick. Is I didn't know a lot about bears when I started writing it, so I had a completely different vision. And then I found out that black bears are the most docile of the bears. I mean, they're still like, you don't want to mess with a mama, especially when they're cubs. You just don't want to mess with bears, period. And they mostly eat berries. But they have been known to, under certain circumstances, which is where one of the big clues comes in to entice the bear, and that she's just out of hibernation, that she's got her cubs. So I had to layer a lot of things to make that work.
Yeah.
If not, then it would have been like, the bear's not going to work. But thankfully it worked, so.
Yeah. Amazing. So, my gosh, this was so fun. This was so fun. I'm so happy that you agreed to do this today.
You asked great questions too, and like I said, I'm really going to think about, like, I think you were right about that. The way that I wrote Lane really may have had a lot more to do with my dad's
Yeah.
The way that he portrayed her back to me. So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
I'm so glad. Yeah, and thank you for just writing an awesome book. I can't wait to read the second one, and also for all your time today, and like really just being an open book yourself, talking about all this stuff. So I'm so excited. Like I feel like I've known you for a long time.
We're pals now.
No, we're besties.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wish I had plugged in my phone, and I don't have my charger.
It's 10 o'clock over there, so
It is. Yeah, but it's not pumpkin hour for me yet. But I turn into a pumpkin in about a half an hour.
No worries.
Yeah, which is dangerous in October, like as we approach Halloween time. If it was January, I'd be fine as a pumpkin. No.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Carmen, too. Thank you, Carmen and Jill and Kami and Denise, and everybody that stayed and commented and stuff. You guys are wonderful. I adore you all. And Candace, thank you for your time and the invite. This was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do book 2.
Me too. I'm so excited. Thank you so much, and thank you to everybody who joined us. And I will put out a message again when we schedule the next one. And everyone have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you so much again for this. It's been fantastic, and have a great night, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Candace.
Bye.